Senator Joachim Henry.
Thank you, Mr. President. And may I greet all members of this chamber and wish everybody since I'm meeting you for the first time for the year, Happy New Year and all the best. But permit me, Mr. President, to add my voice to the Minister in the Ministry of Social Security on the passing of a number of persons that we all hold so dear in our hearts, and of course the young people we continue to lose. And in fact, this will be a major concern within last year, and we've lost 4 young people, and they all seem to be related. Having children that age certainly something that continues to be of major concern, and we are losing our future. In addition to this, the death of a number of our social partners and those who contributed. Humphrey Inglis, who I worked with at the Ministry of Planning. He was an architect, technician, but of course he's responsible for a number of structures that we have around, public structures that we have there. And of course, he would be missed dearly. Mr. President, just to lend my voice to the discussion emanating from the lower house as it relates to the motion to borrow 55 million by way of advances. And after listening to the presentation by the leader of government business, I would have hoped and wished that he would have made his presentation without referencing the contribution from the opposite side as rancor. He has asked the question, why are we here? We are here because the law states that you must come to Parliament and seek authority to borrow. That's why we are here. You're not here because you are gracing or you're permitting the opposition to participate. It is lawful. And therefore the contribution from this side is not rancor, but it is meaningful contribution which will provoke questions that our people listening can be edified and understand why we are doing what we're doing. So of course, a large part of your contribution could have been made without referencing the opposition in the way that you do and characterizing the members in the lower house in that manner. Interestingly, you've made reference to the contribution made by former prime ministers from Hansard, but you choose not to also use the response from the opposition at the time when he made his contribution. What was coming from the opposition time at that time, it would have been useful for you to also represent in this house, if you're going to make reference to the former prime minister's contribution on borrowing. Also, you should have represented what did the opposition react. How did they react? So let's not play the game of trying to score cheap political points at this point in time with the issue of borrowing. But it is important for us to ask the questions, and you've brought some enlightenment. Good, but we still need to ask some questions. And I would start one by speaking on the occasion for borrowing. And it is certainly not a delightful occasion for you to come to this house at this point in time to borrow 55 million. And of course, even in your presentation, you may have hinted that it's not a delightful occasion for government to come and borrow. Let me tell you, there's some points that I need to draw on. One, at this point in time, what is happening in St. Lucia? A lot of people are asking for salary increases. Persons are asking, as it were, what is in it for me? The school teachers are asking for salary increases. School principals want to fix the school. When you hear of a government seeking to borrow, it provokes questions. Why? Why? And what is it that I can get from it? Persons may be wrong, but that is important to ask. What is in it for me? The unemployed persons are asking questions as well. $55 million, unemployed people are asking, can I be employed? Of course, you've given your explanation. But is it a democracy, and are we not entitled to ask pertinent questions? It is for you to give the information, but not to characterize our contribution from this side as rancor. You also made reference that you're trying to avoid rancor. It is not rancor. It's not rancor. We are having a civilized discussion on the matter of borrowing money. And you also intimated that there are two teachers here, and as to whether they can read. These characterizations are not necessary. You lose the point when you come across that way. But listen, to borrow money when you said that you would not be borrowing. Yes. Yes. And that is why I've always said, it is easy to campaign, it's difficult to govern. And it was Kathleen Dunn-Tempest who said in an interview just a few weeks ago, when she was asked, why is it that there's a great turnover of staff in the current White House? She said, because the skill set required to win an election is not the skill set required to govern. Good. This is where we are. And that's why the question is being put to you. Why are you borrowing? Because you said you would not be borrowing. You said that. So I'm asking the question, what is in it for the teachers who need to rehabilitate the schools? What is in it for the police? Is it for independence celebration? You said salaries, and I heard some talk show talking about salaries of ministers, but I know it's not for our salary. Our combined salary is about $4,000. The combined salary on this side is over $100,000 monthly. Well, I don't know, but I say it's certainly not for this side. Not for this side. But what is it for? What is it for? But Mr. President, let me draw your attention to something more profound and important. At this time, we are 4 months away onto the new hurricane season. 4 months away. It has been predicted that this year will be as brutal as last year. And if we glean from as to what transpired in our neighboring islands, I ask the question, what have we done to prepare ourselves and the nation? I've had discussions with certain members on this side. After being part of the caucus of parliamentarians in Trinidad last December, through you, Mr. President, and after spending that amount of time in Dominica, it is scary that we are not prepared in St. Lucia. And the level of preparation that we believe that is required to withstand a Category 5 hurricane, we are not prepared. It is not the construction of roads and bridges that will prepare us. That's not what brings about resilience. Take a look as to how the recovery process is taking place in Dominica. And you would understand, it's not about money. It's not about roads. As a matter of fact, Mr. President, the sad reality is that there are a number of homes and compromised infrastructure that will be in the same state of disrepair with the new season coming on. Is the $55 million in any way going to look towards preparing St. Lucia for this upcoming hurricane season that is in 4 months' time in an unprecedented way? We have been part of this Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction. That certainly has moved the issue of disaster management to disaster risk reduction. Some of what was discussed in the Trinidad Parliamentarian Caucus. And the issues that we were looking at is to avoid creating new risk. Is the borrowing of $55 million in any way facilitate such discussion at this time? And as I speak to this, can I ask, where is Radio St. Lucia that is so important at this point in time to pass out the learning lessons that can prepare us? Mr. President, when I have visited over 250 homes in Dominica, closely, and have taken stories from children who had to hide in kitchen cupboards as the entire roof and superstructure disappeared into the midnight sky. Terrified, where the wind and the water seem to be operating as jackhammers. This is a category 5, where there's not a building of any structural integrity that would survive it. The climate change, the new reality of what we're dealing with. And when I hear of projects like DSH and trying to build on the seacoast, when I hear of these things, are we at this point in time looking at $55 million towards helping us prepare? What is happening in St. Lucia? Kisa kikafet. I know we will try, on this side, we'll always try to spin and tell it to us how probably everybody else wants to hear it. You've given some explanation and you have shown some relationship between what has transpired in the past, although you did not share with us on Hansard what the opposition was saying then. So that was a selective, oh, it's my job. Thank you. And this is what, and that's what, and you do not call this wrong, but you said it is my job then to get Hansard to, I'm not going to do this. I am not going to do this. Because you see, in everything we do here, it must be in sincerity and in truth. It must be for the betterment of our people. And if you're going to bring across what is correct, what is true, I should support you and applaud you. I shouldn't try to distort it to win any kind of cheap political point. But I'm saying it would have been wise for you to understand whenever the government side comes to borrow, there is, on the other side, asking certain questions. Why? For what? And that's why the occasion of coming to the house to borrow by any administration is never a delightful occasion. Because you need to account. And I ask myself, where is transparency and accountability? Have you locked it up in the drawers of your cabinet? Where is it? You should be willing to come and give information, not characterize the opposition as rancor. But there's an issue now with trust. With all that has been said. And the question is, can we trust what is being said? The Prime Minister asked to give him 3 years before he could really start taking care of us, so to speak. And I asked, when will he start? Is this $55 million the commencement of that? And as I asked about the $55 million, you may wish also to consider that when we forgo the collection of $24 million, is it 24? 24 million to Sanders? When we forgo the collection of $51 million in VAT, when we paid Ernst & Young millions to prepare the budget, when we invested millions to investigate St. Jude, and we're still spending more for further investigation, when we could even use up a government credit card and travel, then borrowing will become even more usual. You understand? But of course I saw a credit card. You could give an explanation on this. You can. I do not know. You see, here's the thing, Mr. President. Some time ago I came to this house and I placed a question before this house in the formal way to ask this house as to provide information on the terms of reference for the audit of St. Jude. The member of government said he will do it sometime later. How will I get the answer? Should I again pen a letter through you again to ask for that question? So if you do not volunteer information to St. Lucians, how else? And once I heard somebody say, oh, there is a way to get information. You all know there's a formal way to ask questions. But I did. And up to now, nobody has asked. So please investigate if there's not a credit card issue. Say it's not so and explain to the public. Also through the Minister of Health. I understood that not even the hard drive to store x-rays is adequate, and I understood that we are deleting people x-rays at BH to store new one. Is this true? Should we use the $55,000 to buy a hard drive for storing x-rays? 55 million? So I'm asking these questions, Mr. President. Chaque fois que je viens ici, ce n'est pas parce que moi je voulais parler, moi je vais parler. Mais je crois qu'il est content pour démocratique cette liste où était vivant. Parce que l'année deux façades à le Parlement. L'année opposition et l'année façade gouvernement. Toute manière, l'année question nous pour demander. Peut-être ou pas qu'il y a une question nous voulons demander, mais ça vous voulez nous faire. Restez silence. Pas dire rien. We cannot see that way. You give the answers, facilitate the people understand what you're doing, why you're going and get your $55 million. You provided evidence that it is an ongoing thing, it has happened in the past. But we know, without inspecting or taking Hansard, that the opposition has always provoked and asked questions whenever the government is borrowing. And from a government side, apparently, the fountain of information always seems to run dry. Well, when the fountain of information runs dry, the fountain of questions will never run dry and will continue to ask questions. And like I've said, campaigning and winning an election is easy. Governing is difficult. And if you're going to add and support, yes, governing is difficult. But I do not know about whether I stay in government or not. But to whom much is given, much is expected. You are in government, then you must demonstrate that you are good stewards. You must demonstrate you can give answers. You must demonstrate when questions are asked. When questions are asked, you can answer. Please do so. You understand? Well, let me tell you, the political pendulum will perpetually swing. So do not worry. Do not worry about this. But I'm telling you, right now, the borrowing of $55 million deserves questions being asked. And our questions must not be characterized as rancor. I would prefer the leader of government business consider that we will have a debate on the matter of borrowing and treat the opposition with the dignity and respect that we're supposed to have in a parliament. We do not have rancor. So in the other contributions, I would hope that we do not take this debate and characterize it in the manner that it has, the manner that the leader of government business have set out. This is not good. And the members the members who have won their seat and sitting in the lower house, when we come here in the Senate, I think I try to avoid And most times I see certain things happen up in the lower house, but I do not want to characterize individuals in the lower house. I do not do this. They've won their seat, they're in the lower house. Let us keep the debate focused on the issues that are here before us. We are not elected by the people, we are selected to be here. Let us focus on the issue. Let us not try to bring anybody down, and let's focus on what we have to do here. Mr. President, I thank you.